coming this summer.
They're finally going to make a movie about me! Finally!
Well, fuck you, Bruce. You win.
Hey, remember when I reviewed cartoons? Yeah, I know it's been a while since my last cartoon review, and I do want to apologize for that. Even the best winters tend to be difficult for me, it seems. I've been working on a documentary series that's taken quite a bit of a life of its own, and on top of that, I had ended up getting a repetitive strain injury in my right wrist, which was ungodly unpleasant. Seriously, if you use a computer frequently, get yourself an ergonomic mouse, hashtag not sponsored. Yeah, they look weird, but repetitive strain injuries are those kind of things that kill careers if not dealt with properly. So, let's get this year started off with a bang! Full disclosure, every half a year or so, my patrons over at Patreon choose a movie for me to review, and this is the movie that they requested for me to review this time. I want to state this now. While my patrons choose what I review, they don't choose whether it becomes an admirable or an atrocity or somewhere in between. I say that because I think some people, even over there, were expecting me to hate this movie. But no, Teen Titans Go to the Movies is actually a good movie. At the very least, I can call it an admirable animation. That doesn't mean that it's one of my favorite films or anything. I don't think that it's even particularly great, but I do think that it's good, and it's a lot better than what you might expect from a movie based on Teen Titans Go. Sort of. I don't want to sound overly pretentious, but I had a feeling that this movie wasn't going to be as awful as some people thought it would have been, like, say, the Emoji Movie on steroids. Yeah, I keep predicting whether movies are going to be good or bad, but these things aren't really hard to predict. I mean, when it comes to something like the Emoji Movie, everyone predicted that that movie was going to be a rubbish movie, and it was. If a movie is made by M. Night Shyamalan, it's probably not going to be a good one. The Friendship is Magic movie was an animated movie based on a cartoon, so I predicted that it would have been like every other animated movie based on a cartoon that came out in the last decade. And when you think about things logically, Teen Titans Go to the Movies couldn't have gotten away with being the quality of the show overall. Let's talk about the context of the film. It had been over a decade since the last theatrical movie based on a Cartoon Network show. Even previous hits like Adventure Time or Regular Show didn't prove big enough for the executives at Cartoon Network to greenlight something theatrical. Imagine for a moment if this movie bombed. What kind of message do you think that would have sent to Cartoon Network? The Powerpuff Girls movie, not doing so well, shuttered the Powerpuff Girls, which, according to what I've heard, is one of the hottest franchises that the network has ever had before. The movie couldn't have pulled something like Waffles, or especially something like The Return of Slade, for a mainstream audience. A lot of the mediocre writing and awful episodes from Go comes from the mantra of, it's just one episode of a kid's show, or it's just a kid's show, and this episode will be forgotten by next week. You can't really have that line of thinking when it comes to writing a movie. This will always be the Teen Titans Go movie. It's what people are going to think about when it comes to the franchise overall, for a long, long time to go. Also, most Teen Titans Go scripts are written in a very short time span, but I'm assuming that they'd spend a lot more than that actually working on the script for a movie. It's not exactly that things were more in favor of this movie, it's just that there was a lot riding on this. If this movie was as bad as some of the worst episodes of the show, there were a lot more consequences. You make a bad episode, so what? People with nothing better to do online rant on it, while you continue to rake in merchandising money. If your movie bombs, the network feels it, and people end up losing their jobs. There are consequences. Coincidentally, consequences are kinda what makes this movie work. The writing is more on the level of the Powerpuff Girls crossover. The Teen Titans are jokes in this series. What makes it work here as opposed to something like, I don't know, Staring at the Future or Serious Business, is that in context, they're treated like jokes.
You guys are goofsters.
You know, with the farts.
Always cracking your jokes.
You mean people think we're jokes?
Why do you think there's never been a movie made about you?
What about that time we discovered that sweet diner? And they had that food?
Oh, yes. It was most delicious.
That wasn't even a crime, and you didn't save anything.
Teen Titans Go is a very self-aware show. I don't think there's any arguing that. It's probably more self-aware than The Amazing World of Gumball when you break it down, but self-awareness is a trait that can be very clever or very, very annoying. The Return of Slade is an incredibly self-aware episode. It knows what the show is, and it knows what the complaints are. And because of that, it is absolutely awful. It comes across as, what I'm doing is wrong, I know it's wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Compare that to the Powerpuff Girls crossover. They know what the Titans are doing is wrong, but the wrong thing that they keep doing keeps getting blown up in their face. The movie is far more in line with that interpretation. I can't tell you how many episodes of Teen Titans Go would be far more palatable if Nicolas Cage told the Titans how much of a joke that they are. Seriously, you have that in pretty much any of the episodes I reviewed, it's going to be far better. When the Titans are incompetent and would rather go into a ridiculous song than fight the bad guy, they're unrespected by their peers. And honestly, that's a good premise for a plot. The plot of the movie is that Robin wants to get a movie made about him, but he can't do it because he's with the Teen Titans, and they're the most incompetent superheroes in history. Speaking of meta, it's always kind of humorous to watch a movie about making a movie. I really do love things like that, but if there's anyone who could star in a plot about trying to become respected despite their flaws, I think it'd be Go's version of the Titans. It really is the perfect plot for them. I will have to admit though, a lot of the reasons that I do like this movie is because it breaks a lot of cliches. As I've said, so many animated movies nowadays are just glorified road trip films or the typical hero's journey. I can't believe how refreshing it is that this animated movie is not a road trip through wacky set pieces. It actually has a plot a lot more creative than a lot of its peers. It's different, and it's different in a good way, I think. Not that the movie isn't without some of the more painful cliches, like the Act 2 breakup. It's overdone, but I will say that it feels a lot more organic than some of its peers, where the friends just decide to hate each other because of a stupid misunderstanding. What makes it work better here is that it's not a misunderstanding, it seems to be a legitimate difference that's been building up through the entire movie. Usually in the Act 2 breakup, something just weird or random or stupid happens, and then these best friends just hate each other for 10 minutes. That doesn't happen here.
Good luck to you, Robin. I hope to one day see your movie. I think it will be very good.
I think the reason this movie is a lot more comfortable breaking away from the cliches that are plaguing animated movies is because it wants to be one thing. It doesn't want to tell you a super serious story, it doesn't want to show you this set of wacky worlds, it doesn't want to introduce you to deep characters, all it wants to do is make you laugh. That's where the focus is. Some parts of the movie do suffer for that. The plot can be described as a random events plot with things not really logically connecting. Jokes move the plot along. But for what it's worth, I think that it does work. I think that their focus is in the right place. But to be fair, some of the jokes are awful. Like, really, really awful. One of them was even played in the trailer. Balloon Man gets a hole punched in his butt, and we have a prolonged fart. And with that one fell swoop, I wouldn't blame you for never wanting to see this movie for the rest of your life. I think the worst joke in this movie, though, is probably when they're trying to save Superman's homeworld from getting destroyed, to prevent Superman from becoming a superhero in the future. I swear, this 15 seconds feels like I've been watching the Powerpuff Girls twerking for 1,500 years. The level of cringe goes through the roof. Although, to be fair, it is nice having the Teen Titans admit that trap music is not music.
I've tried all tonal combinations.
Fool, if you want to save the planet, you got to play the right music.
Jokes like that, though, are few and far in between, compared to the numerous jokes that really, really do work. I'm not going to go into all of them, or even most of them, because that would kind of ruin the point, but I will give you a few examples. This movie uses a lot of reference humor. For example, when the Titans are using the time-traveling bicycles to go back in time, you hear the Back to the Future theme. I've complained a lot about random references in the past, but it works here. I mean, we get Back to the Future jokes when the Titans are time traveling. That's a far cry from when Doc and Marty appear just because Dan Schneider wants to brag about his DVD collection. A lot of the reference humor is really clever too. Like, you need to have previous knowledge to get what the joke is. But if you don't have that knowledge, the joke is invisible to you. This is the right way to do a reference joke. For example, Nick Cage playing Superman. If you get the reference, it's hilarious. If you don't get the reference, you're not going to know there's even a joke there at all. There is a lot of toilet humor in this movie, and other things that you would expect from Teen Titans Go. However, that is mostly on top form here too. The joke this time around isn't, lol, toilets. The joke isn't even that the Titans keep going to a prop bathroom. The joke is that these guys are stupid, which works for this kind of movie. However, the funniest jokes from this movie come from Slade, who is the best part of the movie to me. In Teen Titans Go to the movie, Slade is voiced by Will Arnett. He isn't putting on any special kind of voice or anything. He sounds exactly like BoJack Horseman. A lot of people complained that all they could hear while Slade talked was BoJack Horseman.
Sorry, my pathetic friend, but the Justice League won't be coming. Because they're watching a movie, and as considerate moviegoers, I'm sure they would have turned off their mobile devices. Unlike some people.
Yeah, that's why I like it! Just imagine BoJack Horseman being forced to deal with the Teen Titans. Just saying that out loud makes me feel like this was the most perfect casting history in all of cinema. BoJack Horseman is someone who is continually annoyed by the world, and is really funny for that reason. He knows the stick. He knows how to react to the Titans. Every interaction he has with them is just some of the best scenes in the movie. And in this movie, I would not have anyone else play him. I'm not joking about that. It helps that there are some really well choreographed fight scenes in this movie. I have to feel weird for pointing that out though. I mean, it's a superhero movie. What the hell is a superhero movie that doesn't have fight scenes? But honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if this movie didn't have any fight scenes whatsoever. It's a movie based on a Cartoon Network superhero show. When you watch Teen Titans Go or the Powerpuff Girls reboot, it can really get on your nerves to see how often they get so close to having a fight scene, but end up blowing it off. The heroes get captured or defeated. It ends in one punch, or it just ends up being a joke altogether. I don't know if Cartoon Network has gotten stricter censorship over the years. I don't think so, because Steven Universe is a thing, but the action in this movie is a breath of fresh air. Although I will admit that it's probably nowhere close to what you'd expect from the superhero genre. The fights are good, but cinema isn't going to be ripping this thing off for a decade like they did with The Matrix. Helping with the fight scenes is the animation, which is something that got a noticeable boost from the show. I mean, look at some of these set pieces. During the inspirational song about life, some of these vistas look like they were pulled right out of an anime. Not only is it just higher quality, but they take on a lot of different styles, and each of them they do a really good job with. I mean, the show's animation isn't that bad, it's probably one of its best elements, but it really does look good with the higher level put into this movie, which can be difficult to do without making it look uncanny. Sometimes it feels like they had one studio do a certain gag, because they nail these extra styles so well. The best looking scene is definitely the Lion King parody, and that's definitely higher up on the comedy aspect too. All the times that they reference Batman the Animated Series though, it's just a major bonus. Like, some of the shots of this movie look like they were just right out of that show. The only thing in the animation that doesn't work out for me is with Slade. Slade is supposed to be this really intimidating figure, even in the context of the movie.
The effects of my mind control will be permanent. Thank you, Robin. You were so desperate to be in a movie that you turned your back on everything important to you, even your own friends. This shall be your final scene. Magic.
But you can't really pull that kind of stuff off in this almost chibi style that Teen Titans Go has. He just doesn't look like he should in this movie. It's a bit too round and cutesy, you know? Then there's the music. Teen Titans Go to the Movies has quite a few songs, and they're the most hit and miss part of the movie to me. I mean, for one, Robin's singing voice changes in between songs, which is really distracting to me. For the upbeat, inspirational song about life, it feels like Robin doesn't know how to sing, and he's just kind of shouting his lines. Then by the time we get to the My Superhero Movie song, it feels like the people behind the movie realized that he couldn't sing and replaced him with Aladdin. It's not just me, right? He sounds like Aladdin in the song.
'Cause it's my movie, my superhero movie. It's all about me, yeah, it's all about me. It's my movie, my superhero movie. They'll be lining up to see a movie all about me.
Either way, it's just distracting how his voice is nowhere close to anywhere else it's been in the movie, including the last time that he sang. If that was supposed to be the joke, I don't get this one. It's also the worst song in the movie otherwise anyway. It's not waffles repetitive, but let's just say it's trying to run for the silver. The upbeat, inspirational song about life is the best song in the movie. Helping out with that is the animation change, which is just another one that they absolutely nail. As for the other main song in the movie, the Teen Titans Go, I guess we can call it their theme, it kind of reminds me of something. I remember seeing another movie based on a cartoon where the main character was seen as a joke, but then the main character ended up beating the bad guy by pulling a song out of nowhere. I don't remember where I've seen something like that, but it's awfully familiar. All joking aside though, SpongeBob may have done it first, but Teen Titans Go to the Movie does it better.
What did you say, punk?
Why? Because this song was actually played at the beginning of the movie, and it was referenced, and it feels like it's a good follow-up to what happens before in the movie. In the SpongeBob movie, he just pulls the guitar out of thin air. It's a total Deus Ex Machina. As you might have noticed, a lot of the positive things I have to say about this movie come from comparisons to other movies and cartoons. I mean, you want another thing I like about this movie? It's a 2D animated feature. That really shouldn't be a positive, but I can't help but call it refreshing. That's because I can count the non-animated 2D animated movies released in this decade on my fingers. That's not a joke or an exaggeration either. Maybe this movie won't look so good in 10 years with the context gone, when animated movies are beset with different cliches and the show gets to be more and more of a distant memory. So you might want to take my opinion with a grain of salt. When a genre gets really samey, critics who have to see the same things over and over again might start praising every little bit of fresh air that they can get. You'd be surprised how many movies are declared great because they do something a little bit different, even though they're total garbage in hindsight. And how many movies are critical flops because they're similar to the trends of their time. Before we go though, I suppose there is one more thing that we need to talk about. The sneak peek towards the something of the original Teen Titans cartoon at the end of the credits.
This is the Teen Titans. Can anyone hear us? We think we found a way back.
A lot of people got really excited about this, but I have to say that I'm not really one of them. For starters, I don't even know what the hell it's actually hinting at. Is it a preview of a new season? A movie based on the original cartoon? Another Teen Titans Go episode like The Mask? A shoe commercial?
One heroic team, 4 heroic flavors. New Teen Titans Hero Pops. One of the many ways to give your summer some juice from Nestle.
I don't know. All I know is that every single person behind the movie goaded people into seeing the movie if they cared about the original Teen Titans. And I'm gonna be frank, it was a confusing PR move. It came across as, if you want to see the original Teen Titans, then you better go see this movie, because we are holding it hostage. Which, please don't do that in the future. It comes across as very, very disrespectful. Fans of the original Teen Titans have shown themselves time and again to not like this show, and it appears that the show itself has shown that the feeling is rather mutual. And I have a feeling that the more successful that this movie is, the more Cartoon Network is going to read that as the bigger that Teen Titans Go is, not the whole franchise. And I have to be really, really frank. I don't want a continuation of the original Teen Titans. Not now, at least. You wanna know why? The original show ended with a terrible finale that essentially ended on a cliffhanger answering no questions. It was cancelled before it could answer any of those questions and give Starfire her own season arc. After about a decade of waiting for this continuation, the show was remade into Teen Titans Go, which went in completely the other direction, essentially being a joke. I've dedicated several reviews to it. While a show could have good episodes, it took until getting a movie to be able to invoke the spirit of the original in any sort of way. And then of course you got the Titans commercial, which feels like DC is never going to understand why people liked the 2000s cartoon ever. They want Teen Titans more serious. Okay, fuck Batman. What I want most for this franchise right now is for it to lay dormant. I don't know if it's DC or if it's Cartoon Network's fault or whatever, but I really have lost confidence in this franchise going forward. And I want to be blunt, it's not just Teen Titans Go's fault. Part of me feels like I'm just fatigued on nostalgia. Like the novelty of it has all worn off. 5 years ago, it was, wow, this thing from my childhood is back again. Now and here, in this day, I can experience it for the first time all over again. It's the perfect fusion of new and old. But now, well, what I most want, maybe it's just me as a critic, but I want something new. Even as a consumer though, I'm so tired of nostalgia being exploited. More often than not, it feels like it's lazy with all the Disney live-action remakes. Other times it feels insulting or underwhelming, like with the Powerpuff Girls remake. And the rest of the times it feels like whatever, like with DuckTales 2016. Sure, it's a good cartoon, but I like it in spite of it being a reboot, not because of it. Using the same characters and the setting as the 80s cartoon means nothing to me. Then you got things like Ghostbusters 2016 or the She-Ra reboot. They would be so much more well-liked and accepted if they were just not nostalgic pandering, and they were their own new thing. Even when it comes to nostalgic pandering that I like, I'm starting to feel a hunger for something new. For instance, the Crash and the Spyro remakes. After I've had my fun with them, one of the first thoughts that I have about them is, okay, you have proven that you can respect this franchise. I want to see you make something new with it. Make a new Crash game in the veins of the original, or a new Spyro game in the veins of the original. I want novelty, not a novelty. When you tease something like they do at the end of this movie, it comes across as, well, a novelty to me. And speaking candidly, I do not trust Cartoon Network with any of their old properties. I'd rather have franchises be prematurely killed off and have ended badly forever than continued badly in this Frankenstein's monster. Speaking of prematurely killing a show, I had better get to that. Cheerio!
Don't tell me this ain't your life is looking. The sun is gone.
song about love.